Food for Thought with Professor David Bitte.
Thank you so much for tuning in. It's another day where we get to hang out with our favorite professor, Food for Thought with Professor Bitte. 2 weeks ago, we began an interesting conversation on burnout and mental health. We live in a fast-paced world. Everybody is busy, busy, busy. And sometimes we ignore the signs that our bodies are giving us. Let's go back to the conversation where we stopped it last week. So now, if one develops mental health disorders because of burnout, is the treatment approach the same? Because one thing has triggered another.
They can be the same in very many ways. And I will tell you what it is. If you are not sleeping, when somebody is not sleeping well, and because they have been working very hard, or because they are under a lot of pressure, surely you are not going to allow them to continue having sleepless nights. You can give them something to make them sleep. For them, because sleep is very important.
Yes.
It's very important for the health of the mind.
Yeah.
If they are not eating well, you need to make sure that they eat well. You need to monitor their blood pressure and things like and the things like that. However, even before you started doing those things, you need to sit down with those people and educate them. Do you know what is happening with your health? A very basic question.
Yes.
Do you know why you are feeling like the way you are feeling? Do you know that what you are doing may have a relationship, the work that you are doing, and the amount of the expected outcomes? Do you think there is a relationship? Because most of the time they don't know.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I'm seeing it, we have very big companies around here. We normally say, and I'm sure doctors sees this, people who are under so much pressure to achieve from their employers.
Yeah.
And they come here and say, it's too much. As much as I want to, I cannot continue. And then you make them understand, and it's always not so easy to make the bosses understand.
The bosses understand.
Because what they are interested in, that's your problem. What I need are my outputs. What I need are I want to see results.
Yeah.
Results and results and results. Yeah.
Wow. So I'm just wondering, with something like burnout, how do you get it diagnosed?
You get it diagnosed by taking very good history. It all starts from history. I cannot just see you, or you see me, unless it has reached that end. When I'm having very early signs of burnout, when I'm having the very early signs, because these are the ones that I feel in my body, and more often than not, I don't even know what is happening with me. So the significance of this kind of forum, we have been talking about creating awareness. People listen very carefully. They know themselves. They can't compare themselves. And we have said you don't compare yourself with anybody.
Yes.
If I have been working this way, I am under so much pressure to produce results. I'm under so much pressure to achieve deadlines.
Nice.
I think it's the people who are around you who probably notice, the people who are very close to you. So it is awareness and awareness and awareness. So the viewers, remember what we have just said. If you feel that way, pause and ask yourself, could I be suffering from burnout? This burnout, this prodromal stage, may go on for a long time before it transits to more severe psychiatric conditions, or even before you start going down. And obviously, you don't want to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does a severe case of burnout look like?
A severe case of burnout may present with depression. And depression comes with its own symptoms, which are very similar to burnout.
Okay.
disinterest in things, poor concentration, maybe having a lot of, maybe forgetful. If you cannot concentrate, you cannot remember what you did. You don't register, and therefore there will be nothing to recall. Loss of sleep and appetite, irritability. Very commonly. If people start snapping at everybody. Yes. There could be a problem. And they don't mean it to, they don't mean harm. They're just snapping. We call it irritability.
Yeah.
So see those things, and then of course you at that point it's also important to start thinking about your physical health. Make sure that maybe the doctor will tell you if your blood pressure is okay, if there are other problems which you need to address, and if you let it go on, then you to lead to frank, open psychiatric conditions, and it's not only depression. It's not only depression. It can be anxiety, and sometimes it can be obviously psychotic conditions where people. We are the schizophrenic patients develop, because we see a lot of patients with schizophrenia, at a condition we call schizophrenia. They are okay as long as they are not under a lot of stress. But the moment you stress them out, the symptoms increase.
Okay.
So it can present in as many different types of physical conditions, including eating disorders, including physical conditions. The interaction between stress and the physical condition is so well established. And there is a connection between what happens in the mind and what happens in the rest of the body.
Wow.
Yeah, they very, very, very well established in the connections. So basically, that's what burnout is.
Okay.
Recognize it.
Yeah.
And do something about it. And don't ignore it.
Okay.
Don't wait for other people to say, I think it's becoming a little bit too much.
Or don't wait to collapse.
Don't wait to collapse. People collapse in offices, you know that.
There's a lady I hosted once on my show. And she was sharing her story as a workaholic. She was a workaholic. And she said she would work and work and work. And she got to that point of burnout and she had no idea.
What was happening?
Yes. Said how she knew her state is because she blacked out while driving. She was driving and she blacked out. She was somewhere on Wayakiwe near ABC. And the guard at ABC place was able to help her. And she was taken to hospital. And they told her, you can't continue like this. She was put on bed rest, I think, for 6 months. Yeah. And so I'm just wondering, because when it comes to work, I think many of us don't consider our mental health. So we put in a lot of effort, or sometimes we are in such a stressful working environment, but because we need the salary at the end of the month, we just keep going and keep going and keep going until the day it knocks us out. That's when we realize this thing was serious. So what does one do if you find yourself...
you grind to a halt.
Or you grind to a halt. Then you realize, okay, this thing is serious. So for people who are working in stressful...
I think the question is a very simple question, and it's a personal choice. It's a personal choice. Do I continue this and die? Do I continue this and get bedridden? Or is there a different way of coping with this in a way that does not drive me to a complete halt? That is a personal choice. And that personal choice will be informed by many other things, not only the symptoms, but the realization that stress, chronic stress, going on for a long time, it can be toxic. No wonder they call it the toxic curve.
Yes.
It's toxic. I mean, a time comes when it is toxic to your body. So awareness. And don't ignore it.
Don't ignore it.
And don't ignore it. And if you are, it's also very important for, say, employers to be aware of this, that putting people under a lot of stress so that they achieve something.
Yes.
A time may come when they start making mistakes.
Yeah.
Because it's not their wish to do that. A time may come when they are not being productive, and a time may come when you may have to pay hefty hospital bills because of their health.
Yeah.
So it is everybody knowing. But then it's also very important for it's also very important for family members. I think the family is the most important. Is the most important support unit. The spouse will know when the house is having problems, and because there is that intimate connection, there is that close connection. You can say, please slow down. Do you know, darling, you are being a little bit snappy these days.
You're not sleeping well.
You are not sleeping well.
Your appetite.
You are not eating, and things like that. Yeah, awareness right from the beginning. I think it starts at home.
Wow.
And therefore, the family.
Family
TV for the family.
Very true.
Yeah, that's very important. That's very important starting point. And by the way, we even find this in students. I think the other time we were talking about what we call culture bound syndrome. That is a culture affecting the way you develop problems. Children who were put under a lot of pressure to pass exams, and you know the way you do it here.
Yes.
To pass exams. A time came when it really didn't matter at all whether you put them under a lot of pressure. Their brains had shut down. We called it brain fag syndrome, FAG syndrome. I don't know whether Harris knew what it was that he was describing, but now in retrospect, which we see here in Kenya, which parents have been talking about. These children are so much overworked. Things like that. A time reaches when they are not even working, it's not even being productive. It's like the brain has clogged up. And therefore they cannot continue. So this is a syndrome that was described a long time ago in African children. It had not been described elsewhere. But now we know. We don't even call it that name. We just call it stress related to studies in children. It occurs in children, our own children. It occurs in the university students. It occurs everywhere.
Unfortunately, all good things come to an end. We are out of time for today. Thank you for being a part of Food for Thought with Professor Ndetei. If you have any suggestions of topics you would want us to cover even as we get into the new year, suggest them via SMS on 20316, WhatsApp 0786 316 316, or if there are topics we have covered but you want us to go back to them again, because sometimes some of these mental health issues, sometimes it doesn't make sense to you until somebody near you is going through it, a family member is going through it, or you yourself. And then you start asking, what did they say about this? So if there are some topics you would want us to go back and cover them again, also feel free to suggest that. Until next week, have a great weekend.
Food for Thought with Professor David Detei.